Have you been suffering from spring allergies now that everything is such a nice bright green hue? And I don't mean just the beautiful bright green plants that Mama Earth is springing up all over, but the green, film on the cars and the windows and everything you leave outside, patio furniture, everything you touch, right? It's pollen season, and we're going to talk about natural ways to fix seasonal allergies today. If we haven't met before, I'm Audrey Christie. I am a functional and integrative nurse nutritionist. I specialize in working with nutrition, micronutrients, lifestyle, and energy medicine to help people like you find relief and remission from your chronic health issues. So I used to be the one with the runny nose, the cough, the sneezes, the watery eyes, and let me tell you, those watery eyes, y'all. I wear it's been my favorite mascara for years. I love it. But because I'm a stickler for clean products, it's not waterproof, which means that back when I had seasonal allergies, spring allergies, I also had a hard time keeping that mascara on. I would have like these big raccoon eyes or look like I was constantly in the middle of some kind of, 1980s prom drama movie. So as I mentioned, spring is in the air and so are spring allergy symptoms. And given the current climate of every sniffle, sneeze, or goodness, a cough being assumed that you must have COVID-19, it's a really tough time to have allergies, right? And this year makes it even tougher. Back when I had allergies, my fall allergies were way worse than spring allergies. But I would love for you to let me know which are worse for you. So be sure and do that. Today, we're going to talk about those allergies. I'm going to give you some naturalistic tips to get rid of them in the short term and then to be free of them in the long term too. Seasonal allergies happen because of something called an IgE mediated inflammatory disorder. So if we have met before, if you listen to the Naturalistic Nurse podcast, you probably heard about all of this information through the food sensitivities and allergies, right? We talked then about those being IgG mediated allergies when we're talking about food sensitivities, allergies, and intolerances. And I'll include a link to that information if you'd like to review it and have it. Well, spring allergies happen, they're IgE, mediated. So what happens when you encounter something like pollen, like I said, it's impossible not to. As soon as you open your car door, right? It happens. Dust, mold, or something of the like, your body reacts by releasing tons of this immunoglobulin E or IgE antibody. And this sets off a response that leads to the symptoms that you experience. It's a histamine release that happens. The cells release all of their histamine, which is why you hear allergy medications sometimes called antihistamines, right? They're stopping that histamine. Histamine makes everything run. That's what its job is. And sometimes we need that, right? But it makes your nose run, your eyes run, everything run to get it out of your body, to flush out whatever it perceives as an attack. So in the short term, you have things like coughing and sneezing and runny noses and watery eyes. But in the long term, you also have increased overall inflammation in your body and specifically your mucosas. So if you don't know what mucosas are, those are the lining of the cavities of the inside of your body. So you have mucosa in your eyes, on the inside of your lids. You have mucosa in your mouth, right? Everything inside of your lips. Your digestive tract, so from your mouth all the way out the other end, that is a mucosa or mucosal lining. So what all of this means, this IgG business and immunoglobulins and histamines and all this good stuff means, is that you or your kiddo or your spouse or partner or grandmother or whoever, even your dog, if you have seasonal allergies, you likely have a leaky gut. And if you have a leaky gut, then you have a food sensitivity because it's all connected. So a lot of times in conventional medicine, which I fully believe has its place, things are very separated into systems. Like you go to the GI doctor for tummy issues. You go to the rheumatologist for arthritis issues. You go to the orthopedic doctor for bone issues, right? But in reality, all of these systems, especially when you move into something chronic, like having seasonal allergies every season or every year, all of these things are very interrelated. So I'm going to drop a little bomb here. Seasonal allergies are not normal, okay? They aren't just a part of life that you have to live with. even though we've been heavily marketed to by, every other commercial on TV that seasonal allergies are totally normal. All you got to do is take this pill, right? Crazy, right? And if you look statistically at seasonal allergies, many people follow a very similar trajectory or path. They start with seasonal allergies as kids. They may or may not have had tubes. They may or may not have had tonsils or adenoids removed. And the reason why I say may or may not is because those things come in and out of popularity. So for example, when I was a kid, it was popular to let kids keep their tonsils and adenoids. But when my kids were kids, it was popular or they're still kids, but when my kids were that tonsil adenoid age, it was popular to take them out. If you're wondering if you should get your kiddos' tonsils or adenoids taken out, keep them. They are a very important part of your immune system. And so when you remove them, you can't put them back and you can't recover that aspect of your immune system. Also, removing the tonsils and adenoids does not fix the problem. It only masks the symptoms. Just a sidebar, food for thought, right? So if you've had your tonsils or adenoids taken out, or whether it was popular when you were a kid, usually that's at least on the discussion table. Then you probably have acne as a teen. Sometimes there's some spurts of asthma, either chronic or acute. So either you have a bout or a year, like maybe in your 6th grade year, you're having some asthma, but you don't have it your whole life, right? And then as adults, a lot of times these same people have trouble conceiving children. And then often they finally do conceive, and then they suffer from acne in their 30s and 40s out of the blue, right? They're like, gosh, I haven't had acne since I was in 9th grade. I guess this is sort of the normal progression. And I really shouldn't say normal because it's not normal, but it is common, if that makes sense. So allergies are a symptom of something going on in your human suit. Allergies themselves, even though they have a diagnosis, even though there are medications, both over the counter and prescription, and natural remedies for them too, they are a symptom of something else going on. So I always like to think of any diagnosis like a tree, right? So if allergies are the trunk of the tree, the branches that you see are the symptoms. Now, if you think about a real tree underneath the ground, if you've ever done any yard work where you had to dig a hole underneath the ground, there are systems of roots. Lots and lots of roots lead to that outward expression of what you see above the ground. It's the same thing with allergies. If you think of allergies as the trunk of the tree, there are lots of roots that lead to the symptoms that you see, that outward experience, that outward presentation of your allergy symptoms. So as you can guess, there are lots of roots, right? And so lots of roots, different people have different roots. One of the kind of the common big roots that I see in people is that the digestive tract is leaky or permeable. So I'm going to focus on that today for the long-term healing strategy. I know it seems odd, but the digestive system is where the immune system lives. It's also the primary gateway of things entering your body and getting into your bloodstream, right? So this is, kind of one of those chicken or the egg scenarios, but many people believe that the digestive issues or leaky gut comes first, and that is a root cause to the allergies versus allergies happening and then leaky gut happening and then more allergies happening, if that makes sense. There are lots of really good studies coming out that show that when an infant is weaned from either breast milk to cow's milk, or if they've had formula that has cow's milk in it, that's where this whole cycle starts, right? Of this allergic reaction to their environment. So in leaky gut, the gut lining becomes permeable, which means that things pass through it more easily. And your gut, if these are the cells, if my fingers are the cells in your gut, they should be very tight together, only allowing certain molecules to pass. Over time, if you don't take care of your gut lining, then these start to spread open. And a lot of times they can be wide open and they're not tight junctions anymore. These junctions widen and then bigger particles get through that gut lining into your bloodstream. Well, your immune system does a fantastic job of protecting your body. So what it does is it mounts an IgE, remember we talked about that earlier, immunoglobulin E response to whatever it is that comes through. It'd be IgG actually, generally for the digestive tract, but it's the same principle, okay? So your immune system is doing its job. It's starting the attack. Histamine's released from all the cells, and then all of a sudden you're congested and clogged and running everywhere, right? So most of the time, when we're looking at a long-term strategy to never take sinus or allergy pills again, we're looking at healing the gut, reducing the inflammation in the body, right? Healing these allergies for good. Sometimes just that one thing fixes it, okay? Now, sometimes people have that and some other things going on, and so there'll be a few more roots to find and heal before experiencing complete healing. So the big question is, how the heck do you fix it? Conventionally, the treatment is to mask symptoms with a medication every single day forever, okay? Many people that I see have been taking daily allergy medication for years and years and years. And even though we feel like, because we can go buy it at the grocery store, that it's something that we can just take every day forever, there are actually a lot of unintended consequences that happen when we take these medications long term. Now, I'm not going to get too deep on the spiel about unintended consequences, but I will tell you, unintended consequences, another word for that might be side effects. And the reason I call them unintended consequences is because there are no side effects. These are the effects of medication, whatever medication it is that you're taking. And so some of them are the intended effects and some of them are the unintended effects. And so when we're thinking of allergy medication, taking that daily, giving that to the kids daily, the unintended effect of those are that you feel drugged, you feel sleepy, you feel foggy brained, you have trouble concentrating. Bigger consequences that happen: dizziness, blurred vision. So a lot of times kids who have allergy problems, they take allergy medication every day. All of a sudden they need glasses at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Sometimes that has to do with those seasonal allergies. Nausea can be another problem. Further damaging the gut and causing autoimmune disease is another problem. And for our older clients that are taking allergy medication every day, it can also lead to an enlarged prostate. For our female clients, it can make yeast infections, can cause chronic yeast infections or make active yeast infections a whole lot worse. It can also cause candida infections in the gut. Bottom line is I encourage clients to avoid allergy medication whenever possible. So here's the thing I see most often, or I hear most often, or people send me most often: Audrey, I need allergy relief, but I don't want to be doped up on allergy medication because it makes me sleepy. Or maybe you're the kind that it makes you too hyped up, right? Usually it goes one way or the other. I totally understand. And the same goes for kids. I hear people say, gosh, I just talked to someone today. Man, I was sending the kids outside, but every time he comes in, he's, watery eyes, runny nose, and we can't just get ahead of it. I don't want to give him allergy medication because it dopes him up or it doesn't work, any of these things. So let's talk about how to get spring allergy relief. Now, the things I'm going to talk about today, caveat here, warning, disclaimer, I'm not your doctor and I'm not playing one on the internet. So I want to make sure that before you make any changes to any prescribed medications, that you run it through your intuitive filter, do your due diligence, see your holistic health practitioner like myself or your family doctor, and find out if these options are right for you. Because sometimes natural supplements can interact with medications. Okay, so ultimately, you are responsible for your health. And that actually also goes to whoever you talk to as a physician as well. Take the information they give you and then run it through your intuitive filter, do your own due diligence, do your research before agreeing to anything they say as well. So let's talk about it. So micronutrients is another word for supplements, and these are things that you can take for spring allergies. Normally, I don't lead right off the cuff with supplements or micronutrients because you can't heal the body with supplements alone, just like you can't heal the body with medication alone. You can't out-supplement a bad diet. You can mask symptoms, but you can't out-supplement a bad diet. In the case of seasonal allergies, you really have to address those short-term symptoms naturally while working to not need even the natural allergy remedies, right? So we're looking at both a short-term and long-term solution. So supplements like these really help with symptoms, but they don't heal the root cause of your allergies, okay? My very first and favorite one, and I'll include a list of these in the comments for this video, quercetin with bromelain. This is an extract from plant foods, and it works to calm the immune system. You can find it both in a chewable for kids or in a capsule form. You can look at the wellness tools link, audreychristie.com/wellness tools for a link to quercetin on my website. The second one is butterbur. Butterbur is an herb, and you can either do butterbur in a tea or you can get it in a pill form. And just fun fact, they call it butterbur, but there's nothing buttery about it. They used to wrap butter back in the day with the leaves from this plant, and that's how it ended up being named butterbur. But the extracts from butterbur are really, really great for relieving fever, nasal allergies, headaches, and it works like an antihistamine without the drowsy or speedy side effect. The next one is stinging nettle. Now, stinging nettle, if this grows natively where you are, which it does here in North Texas, it can really benefit you. And it's really cool how that works. A lot of times the plant medicine that we need to heal is something that is found right in our environment, right around us. But I will ask you to use caution with this herb. It can make some people's allergies worse, particularly if you're a ragweed person. So you want to consider that, and you also want to only use it for 8 weeks at a time. It's also available in a pill form or a tea form. There are other things that you can do to help supplementally heal your gut, working on that long-term strategy to heal your allergies. And one of them is that I recommend all the time. That is vitamin D3 and K2. So a lot of people are taking D3, but they don't realize that you have to take K2 with it to protect your cardiovascular health and to make sure your body knows where to send all that calcium the D3 is getting in line for you, right? So I hear people all the time say, Audrey, my doctor's got me on D3. And I'll say, well, does it have K2? Oh, well, no. So you want to do D3 plus K2, and you want to make sure it's a drop. There's a peppermint drop by Livewise. I think you can find that on Amazon. And you drop it under your tongue. And the reason why you want to do a drop is because if you have seasonal allergies, we know you have leaky gut, right? And if you have leaky gut, what's going to happen if you're taking pills? It's probably not going to get absorbed and put to use. There's a saying in functional and integrative medicine that you aren't what you eat, you are what you can digest and put to use. So if you've already got seasonal allergies and you have a leaky gut, taking that D3K2 is unlikely to change things for you. The other thing I always recommend everyone, young and old, is a healthy dose of omega-3s. Now, when you're shopping for omega-3s, you want to find one that's plant-based because fish have mycotoxins and mercury in them, plastotoxins and mercury in them. So you want to find one that's plant-based, and you want to make sure that it is omega-3 only. A lot of well-meaning individuals are pushing omega-3 pills that also have 6s and 9s and all of these things in it. Those are actually contributing to the problem rather than helping relieve the problem. So the next thing to consider is nutrition for spring allergies. And the reason why I really want to talk about nutrition is a couple of reasons. One, sometimes supplements and micronutrients can be cost prohibitive, right? So they can be super expensive, although I try to find ones that are really reasonable and good quality. Second, if you aren't changing your nutrition, like I said, you can't out supplement a bad diet. So if you're not changing your nutrition, then you're not working on that long-term solution. So you can do this with food alone. And this is really critical to follow if you're taking the natural remedies and energy work, because it's, like I said, it sets the stage for long-term healing. The very first thing, and people don't like it, but the very first most important thing you can do, especially right now, is to say no to dairy. Say no to milk, say no to cheese, say no to coffee creamer, say no to chocolate with dairy, say no to dairy. Dairy creates a mucus reaction in all humans. Some it's severe and some it's less severe. And that's a food sensitivity or intolerance generally, not an allergy, but that's just what dairy does. And without getting too far into the science of the caseins and all the things that go with it, just know that dairy is a problem. If you have seasonal allergies, then you must stop dairy. Also, if you're trying to avoid a particular upper respiratory virus that happens to be going around, right? So say no to dairy. A lot of people ask, well, where do I get my calcium? The calcium in milk is not bioavailable. It's not absorbable for humans anyways. And so you get your calcium from leafy greens, okay? You get your calcium from plants. And I'm not saying never to have meat or eggs or any of those things. Again, I'm saying no to dairy if you have seasonal allergies. The second thing to do, I mentioned quercetin and that being part of a plant food. So eating lots of foods, increasing these foods in your diet that contain quercetin naturally, onions, apples, teas, berries, buckwheat, citrus fruit, and fresh pineapple. Fresh pineapple actually has bromelain in it, which is why I mentioned quercetin with bromelain if you're going to buy that supplement. But eating pineapple with any of those foods enhances the absorption because it has bromelain in it, and those two foods are meant to be consumed together by our human suit. And then the third thing to do is to eat more vitamin C. And citrus, I already mentioned, great for vitamin C, but also red bell peppers are often overlooked for vitamin C. If you happen to have a juicer at home, juice some pineapple, some cucumber, and some red bell peppers together makes a perfect allergy halting spring allergy solution juice. Next, I want to talk about something called essential oils. Essential oils are really beneficial for spring allergies. Recently, I was interviewed by Oprah Magazine in regards to using essential oils for spring allergies, and I'll attach that article in the links. There are lots of different oils that you can use. However, there's some basics that are really, really easy to use. Peppermint, lemon, and lavender are the go-to for using essential oils for allergies. All you have to do is diffuse these during the day. At night, I would swap that peppermint for Eucalyptus radiata. And if you don't have this, then just stick to lemon and lavender at night. You can diffuse those. You can create a roll-on and use those. Brand specific is not really important. I use Young Living essential oils. There are other good brands out there. The only brands I would ask you to avoid are the ones that you buy on the grocery store shelf. Those generally are fragrance oils and not therapeutic oils, just for your information. And so you can use those for kiddos too. And I'll talk about more how to use these as we go through some of the other information here. One thing a lot of people don't consider for allergies is that energy work can really help for allergies too. Using things like acupressure points and wind points in traditional Chinese medicine can help relieve the symptoms both immediately and long-term for allergies. So when we think energetically, often allergies are a sign of suppressed grief, especially if your allergic reactions involve the lungs. So if you typically have allergic reactions that include a lot of coughing or wheezing or asthma-like symptoms, that's generally a grief issue. Another common energetic thread for allergies is fear. And both can be really interesting emotions to clear. And that's something I offer in my remote energy sessions when needed. If that's something that resonates with you, then feel free to let me know and I can help you out there. When we think of the energy of spring allergies, we also think of the energy of wind, and this is more nodding towards traditional Chinese medicine. Spring is wind, right? Pollen blows around. You can think of it very literally or energetically. So there are lots of wind points on the body that tend to be open, right? So they tend to be overstimulated and open. So closing these wind points can really help improve seasonal allergies very, very quickly. There's a few to keep in mind. The first is the trapezius muscle, which is right here. It makes a trapezius, right? So if you push here and you notice any pain at all, any sensation, that's a sign that that wind center from traditional Chinese medicine is probably open. So you just rub it 4 to 8 seconds. You can tap it, you can rub it, or you can even make figure eights. You can enhance this with essential oils. For trapezius, I like to use peppermint. Sometimes I'll just go with lavender because it soothes all the things, or lemon because it gets all the things flowing. So trapezius point, really good point here. The next point I want you to think of is the top of the head. So where the soft spot is on babies, again, push here and notice if there's any tenderness. Another place to check is the occipital bone on the back of the head. So mashing around on that bone on the back of the head. There's not a particular point on that one, but anywhere you feel pain, that's a spot to massage for 4 to 8 seconds. Another one is just under the ear at the jawline. Most everyone I touch, this one is sore to them. So you just hold it 4 to 8 seconds, wiggle it, pulse, mash, do figure eights, and release that point. That helps to close these wind centers and reduce allergy symptoms. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of times grief is associated with allergic symptoms or upper respiratory symptoms, either for allergies or viruses or bacterial infections. So there's lung neurolymphatic points, and these are acupressure points. So what you do is you start right here in the collarbone. This one is actually kidney point K27. So it just feels good to massage. And then you can go down the intercostal spaces. Intercostal means between the ribs, and rub those points to close and stimulate that drainage. Now, I've got 2 more energy techniques for you to do. Remember, these are completely free, y'all, so you might as well try them. If your sinuses are completely clogged here or here, here's a really good trick. You take lemon. Lemon helps all the things drain. It helps things flow. Put a drop on your thumb. Then you're going to take that thumb from a nice washed hand before you put the lemon on it. You're going to put it on the roof of your mouth. And you'll feel a little bump right there at your hard palate. You're just going to push up on that bump on your hard palate a few times. Now, our facial bones are held together by cartilage. And so what that does is start to jiggle the cartilage in your face, and it'll cause the sinuses to drain, usually post-nasal, so down the back of your throat. It'll cause those sinuses to drain right out. Very last one. This is one I like to do with a little lemon or a little lavender on my fingertips. Rub them together. You're going to take your fingers and put them right on the inside of your nose and follow these fingers all the way around. You can actually start down the bridge of your nose if you prefer. Just be careful. You don't want to get essential oils in your eyes. Breathing deeply, you're going to push pretty good pressure all the way across the top, just above the eyebrows, down to the temples. Notice if there's any tenderness there and push. Drop down to the front of the ear. You're going to go around the back of the ear, all the way down to the back of the jaw. Remember, that was a wind point. To the back of the jaw. Then you're going to jet back to the back of the neck, down to the trapezius, another wind point, and hang here for just a minute. And then put your hands over your heart and exhale. That helps, that especially that last one, that's called the triple warmer smoothing. That one is very, very beneficial, especially if you're stuck actively sneezing or running, or you can't keep up with your watering eyes. You don't have to use essential oils to do it. Essential oils just adds another layer of effectiveness. So you can do that anywhere, down, back, and here. Triple warmer is the energy meridian, and that is what you are smoothing. Last few things for allergies. A neti pot. So when I was quoted in Oprah magazine, they said that I said to put essential oils in a neti pot. Never, ever, ever do that. It will burn like all fire. Okay, so never do that. If you are, I'm only half joking here, a fan of torture, it kind of feels like waterboarding, or what I would imagine waterboarding would feel like. A neti pot can be a really beneficial thing to do every evening or every morning, just a few days a week, to physically rinse your sinus cavities. So basically what you do is you fill room temperature water. It needs to be purified water, so either distilled water or saline, or you can boil it and let it cool completely. But you're going to fill it with water. You're going to plug one side of your nose, and you lean over the sink real far, and your whole family looks at you, and you put this side up your nose, and then you tilt and then let go of this finger, and it's going to run up, and you're going to have a stream of water the same size as this streaming out. A couple things. You want to make sure it's ceramic, so you can hear. That's glass, right? Ceramic. So you don't want to use a plastic one. You don't want to add a bunch of extra junk in there. You can also use bamboo, although there's some cleanliness issues. I like the ceramic because you can put it in the dishwasher and sterilize it. And then you only have to have one for the whole house. But you can do that on each side. It takes some practice if you haven't ever done it before, but it really, really works. It's also great for a sinus infection because it can just push that infection right out. The other thing that I mentioned, I talked earlier about vitamin D3 being critical. It's really great in preventing and treating allergies. You don't have to go buy the supplement if you can get out in the sun for 30 minutes of sunshine every single day. And that means 30 minutes of sunshine without a window, and without, not through a window. I always call it unmitigated sunshine. So not through a window, and not through sunscreen. So get as much as your skin out that's legally possible, out in the sunshine, bare feet on the earth every single day. So I thank you for tuning in. I will include lots of links. I'm always around to ask and for you to ask me questions. And I hope you found this interesting, and I hope that you find some relief in the short term and long term for your allergies. I'm Audrey Christie. Thank you so much. Be well.